The Onami phone is finally official. It's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is the Sony Xperia Z1 in your first look. Here at the Sony press event just before IFA, we got a look at what is probably Sony's biggest and best smartphone endeavor. After starting with the Xperia Z and then evolving their design since then, the so-called omni-balance design methodology is in full force here, as the phone is basically made up of one unibody piece of aluminum and then covered in glass. What you get here is a phone that looks a lot like the Xperia Z, almost identical really, but has a sturdier feel and, according to Sony, is as mechanically sound as it can get. The phone has a nice rigid feel to it due to sharpened corners and the flat sides, and of course there is Sony's signature Xperia silver power button on the side alongside the added-in dedicated camera button. For a 5-inch screen device, the hand gymnastics are kept to a minimum just like with the Xperia Z, and the placement of the power button and volume rockers is right where your thumb would land. Around the sides, the ports all have covers on them, the classic sign of water resistance. It's no secret that I'm a fan of the black slate design, and few do it better than Sony. The Xperia Z1 is very much a simplistically elegant phone. Sony has really been working on their display game since the original Xperia Z and have come up with a number of enhancements that have made it onto the Xperia Z1. The triluminous display is a 1080p resolution screen that is also backed by Sony's X-Reality engine. Sony's UI does typically take on darker tones, but it's not hard to see some real contrast between the colors on the screen. Viewing media is usually quite good on Xperia screens, and we're certain that this will remain true for the Xperia Z1 as well. But within that aluminum frame are what we'd expect from a high-end smartphone just like this. The Xperia Z1 sports the Snapdragon 800 that comes in at 2.2 GHz and is backed by the Adreno 330 and 2 GB of RAM. From our initial testing, we saw little stutter and lag, and the more simplistic Xperia UI continued on with no problems. 16 GB of onboard storage is available, but also expandable due to a micro SD card slot. And a 3000 mAh non-removable battery should give longevity, especially with the rather robust Xperia battery saving features. Sony really tried to drive home at this event that they are bolstering their imaging department. That also includes their mobile devices. In an effort to make smartphone photography as good as using a compact digital camera, the Xperia Z1 comes with what is called the G lens, a 20.7 megapixel shooter that takes everything we may see in Sony's camera lines to the smartphone. The Exmor RS CMOS sensor is Sony's jumping into the very high-end smartphone camera game and is supposed to bring a stellar photography experience. The interface has changed somewhat, but retains the superior auto and various modes that Xperia phones have had in the past. Enhancement apps are now also available for download and can add more flair to your pictures and video. More of these apps are set to become part of the Xperia camera continuously, so expect more ways of getting creative. And of course, for further enhancement, Sony created the QX series lenses, but that's for another video. We'll have much more in-depth looks at the camera and its picture quality when we get our own Xperia Z1. Software is a department that Sony typically keeps pretty simple. The Xperia UI is pretty stock-like in nature, echoing some design elements of Ice Cream Sandwich while having the Jelly Bean enhancements. Not too much has changed this time around, as the same additions like the small apps and Sony's apps like the Walkman return. Sony's focus continues to be social. For example, a camera app is included that allows you to live stream from the phone's camera to Facebook and will give you live updates of comments that people make on that stream. Sony's own unlimited services were given many mentions, and it's clear that Sony wants you to come to their ecosystem for all of your general media needs. But unless you jump in, the Xperia experience is pretty much what you might remember it to be. And so, there you have it. A look at the Sony Xperia Z1, known prior to this event as the Onami phone. Even with new powerful specs, its biggest asset is basically that monster of a camera, and could be what sets it apart the most. This is very much the perfecting of the Xperia Z smartphone, and if you are an Xperia fan, this just might be the dream phone that you've been waiting for. For more coverage of the Xperia Z1, stay tuned to Android Authority.